Morbid Facts, Part 465. In the mid-2000s, Giancarlo Esposito was forced to declare bankruptcy since his acting career was failing. The father of four then considered hiring a hitman to murder him to provide the insurance money for his family. But shortly afterwards, he landed the role of Gus Fring on Breaking Bad, which completely turned his life around. In 2010, two women tried to smuggle their dead relative's body onto a flight by putting him in a wheelchair and giving him sunglasses. They were apparently trying to save the $3,000 it would have cost them to send his body back home. In 2014, single mother Sarah Sands discovered that her 77-year-old neighbor had sexually abused her three sons. When authorities allowed him to return to his nearby apartment, she murdered him by stabbing him 8 times with a 12-inch blade. It was later revealed that he'd been living under a fake identity after 24 previous convictions for sex offenses that spanned over 3 decades. Sarah ended up serving 4 years in prison for the murder. Morbid Facts, Part 447. In 2008, Canadian woman Marilyn Bergeron told her family that something terrible had happened but wouldn't elaborate, calling it worse than assault or witnessing a crime, and that she no longer felt safe living alone. Soon afterwards, she left her Quebec City home and completely disappeared. This last photo shows her withdrawing $60 from an ATM on the day she vanished, and she was never seen again. In the 1880s, James Jameson, heir to the Jameson Irish whiskey fortune, purchased a 10-year-old African slave girl just so he could draw her being eaten by cannibals. He claimed he only did it as a joke and didn't expect her to actually be killed. In 1983, 2 men from Missouri entered an abandoned home in St. Louis while searching for a pipe to fix their broken van. After following a horrible stench down to the basement, they found the headless body of a little girl with her hands tied behind her back. After years of investigation, she and her killer sadly remain unidentified to this day. Morbid Facts, Part 64. 19-year-old Australian Sam Ballard was a star rugby player until he was dared to eat a garden slug at a team party. The slug ended up infecting him with a devastating condition called rat lungworm, which paralyzed him from the neck down and eventually killed him 8 years later. Co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous Bill Wilson was denied after begging for whiskey on his deathbed and died 36 years sober. A doctor chronicled the progression of Alzheimer's disease in one of his patients by collecting her signatures on medical forms over the years. The 4-penny coffin was one of the first homeless shelters created by the Salvation Army in the late 19th century. For 4 pennies, you could receive food and shelter and sleep in a coffin-sized wooden box with a tarp. An 18-year-old girl from Alaska was encouraged to murder her best friend by a boy she met online who claimed to be a multi-millionaire. She then convinced 4 others to help her so that they could split a $9 million prize. It ended up being a total scam perpetrated by a mentally disabled man in Indiana.